The Arizona sun beats down on Fort Maddox like a hammer on an anvil. 155 degrees in the shade, but there is no shade on the outdoor rifle range. Just concrete firing lanes stretching toward distant targets, heat waves rising from baked earth, and the smell of gun oil mixing with desert dust. She sits in the shadow of the equipment shed, cross-legged, back straight, hands moving with mechanical precision over a disassembled M110 sniper rifle. The woman doesn't look up when the boots approach, doesn't acknowledge the shadows falling across her workspace, just keeps cleaning. Cloth moving in small practice circles across the bolt carrier group. Each movement economical, efficient, the kind of muscle memory that doesn't come from reading a manual. Major General Preston Blackwell stops 3 feet away, 45 years old, chest heavy with ribbons earned in 2 wars and a dozen operations that never made the news. Jaw set in the expression of a man who expects the world to arrange itself according to his preferences. Behind him, 5 officers in crisp uniforms, all male, all watching, all waiting for whatever comes next. The woman's hands don't stop moving. Blackwell clears his throat. Nothing. He shifts his weight. Still nothing. One of the officers behind him, a lieutenant with academy polish still clinging to his pressed uniform, nudges his buddy and grins. She probably doesn't even speak English, the grin says. Probably maintenance crew. Probably lost. Tell me something, Blackwell says finally. His voice carries the particular edge of authority, mixed with barely concealed irritation. What's your rank, sweetheart? Or are you just here to polish our rifles? The cloth keeps moving. Circle, circle, circle across the bolt face, down the gas tube, with a care that borders on reverence. The woman's face remains neutral. No anger, no embarrassment, just calm. Focus on the weapon in front of her. Captain Dylan Mercer steps forward, 32, lean, tanned from years of outdoor postings. Second in command written into every cocky angle of his stance. He crosses his arms and tilts his head, studying her like a puzzle he's already decided isn't worth solving. Maybe she doesn't speak English, sir, Mercer suggests. His tone makes it clear what he thinks of people who don't speak English on a United States military installation. Could be facilities maintenance. You know how it is these days. They let anyone on the range for cleanup duty. Laughter ripples through the group. Low, comfortable. The laughter of men who've never been challenged in a space they consider their own. One of the junior officers, a second lieutenant fresh enough that his boots still squeak, leans toward his companion. $20 says she can't even load that thing properly. Make it 50, the other responds. I bet she's never fired anything bigger than a 9mm. 20 yards away, near the range control tower, an older man turns his head. Colonel Thaddeus Hargrove, 67 years old, spine still straight, despite 3 decades of service and a combat injury that put titanium where bone used to be. Face weathered, like desert stone lines carved by sun and sand, and things most men will never see. Rangemaster for the past 8 years. Before that Gulf War, before that things that remain classified in folders locked away in buildings with no names. His eyes narrow as he watches the scene unfold. Something about the woman bothers him. Not bothers in the sense of wrong. Bothers in the sense of familiar. The way she holds the rifle components. The angle of her wrists. The breathing pattern. Slow, controlled. 4 counts in. 4 counts held. 4 counts out. 4 counts empty. He's seen that pattern before. In very specific places. Under very specific circumstances. Places where call signs replace names and missions stay buried for 50 years. Blackwell takes another step closer. Boots crunching on gravel. His shadow falls completely across the woman, now blocking what little relief the shed's overhang provided. Look at me when I'm talking to you. The patience in his voice is paper thin. The kind of patience that's really just contained anger. Petty officer, seaman, private, whatever you are, eyes up. The woman's hand still. Just for a heartbeat. Just long enough for anyone paying attention to notice. Then she sets down the bolt carrier, places the cleaning cloth beside it with the same careful precision she's shown for everything else. Her fingers are steady. No tremor. No hesitation. No visible reaction to being addressed like a child who forgot her homework. When she finally raises her head, her eyes are calm, gray-green. the color of storm water. They meet Blackwell's stare without flinching, without anger, without any readable emotion at all. Just steady assessment. The look of someone measuring distance and wind speed and a dozen other factors the untrained eye wouldn't even recognize. No rank to report, sir. Her voice is quiet, neutral. The kind of voice that doesn't rise to bait, doesn't engage with disrespect, just states facts. Just here to shoot, Mercer snorts. Actually, snorts. Like he's heard the funniest joke of his military career. Just here to shoot. You hear that, General, she's just here to shoot. He turns to the others playing to his audience. Hope she's got someone to hold her hand on the trigger. Recoil on these babies can be rough if you don't know what you're doing. More laughter. One of the officers suggests maybe they should spot for her. Make sure she doesn't hurt herself. Make sure she doesn't embarrass the corps. Either way, it'll be entertaining. Better than the morning's paperwork, at least. Hargrove shifts his weight near the control tower. His hand moves unconsciously toward the radio at his belt. He doesn't key it, not yet. But his attention is locked on the woman now. On the way, she's breathing. 4444. Combat breathing. Box breathing. The kind they drill into you in pipelines most people don't know exist. The kind that keeps your heart rate down when someone's shooting at you. When you're holding a sight picture on a target 1,000 meters away, and the difference between mission success and mission failure is whether you can control the flutter of your pulse. He glances at her hands again. The grip she had on that bolt carrier, index and middle finger positioned exactly where they needed to be for a speed reassembly in low light conditions. For the kind of situations where you have 30 seconds to get your weapon back together before the enemy finds your hide site, his jaw tightens. He pulls out his radio, changes it to an encrypted channel, but doesn't transmit. Not yet. First, he needs to see something. Blackwell straightens, hands on hips, the universal posture of a senior officer who's reached the end of his tolerance for whatever nonsense he's currently witnessing. You're cleared to be on this range. Yes, sir. And you're planning to shoot today. Yes, sir. At what distance? For the first time, something flickers across her face. Not quite a smile, more like the shadow of one, gone before it fully forms. Like a ripple on still water. 800 meters, sir. The silence that follows is absolute. Then the laughter erupts, loud, genuine. The kind of laughter that comes when something is so absurd it catches you off guard. Mercer actually slaps his knee. 800, right, okay. He looks at Blackwell grinning. Sir, with all due respect, I'd like to see this. For educational purposes, I think we could all use a good laugh after this morning's briefings. Blackwell's expression doesn't change. But there's a glint in his eye now. Amusement, maybe. Or something harder. Something that comes from spending too many years watching junior personnel overestimate their abilities and underestimate the consequences of failure. By all means, Captain. He gestures toward the firing line. Let's see what our mystery shooter can do. The woman stands, doesn't use her hands, just rises in one smooth motion, from cross-legged to standing. No hesitation, no wobble. The kind of movement that speaks to core strength and practice discipline. Her uniform is standard issue, slightly faded from washing. No name tape, no unit patch, nothing to identify her beyond the basic fact that she's military, or was, or is pretending to be. She picks up the rifle, already reassembled, checks the chamber with a glance that takes less than a second. The kind of chamber check that's been done so many times it's become unconscious. Like breathing, like blinking. She walks to lane 7. Her gait is even. Purposeful. Not rushed. Not slow. Just the steady pace of someone who knows exactly where she's going and exactly what she's going to do when she gets there. Hargrove is already moving toward that lane before he consciously decides to. His boots carry him closer, angling for a better view. Something is crawling up his spine. Recognition, maybe. Or warning. Or both. The feeling you get when you're about to witness something that changes your understanding of a situation. The woman settles into position at the bench, rifle resting on the sandbag support. Her posture is textbook perfect. Better than textbook. The kind of perfect that comes from thousands of repetitions. Left hand under the fore-end supporting without gripping. Right hand on the pistol grip finger outside the trigger guard. Body squared behind the weapon shoulders, absorbing the future recoil before the shot is even fired. She makes one small adjustment to the rear bag, shifting it a fraction of an inch. Then she goes still. Not the stillness of someone holding their breath and trying not to move. The stillness of someone who's learned to let their body settle into absolute stability. The stillness of a rock, of earth, of things that don't move because movement isn't in their nature. Mercer leans against the tower railing, arms crossed. Somebody get her some extra ammunition. She's going to need a lot of practice rounds to even get on paper at that distance. Does she even know where the safety is? Another voice asks. Probably thinks the scope is a telescope. Someone else chimes in. Blackwell stands with his hands clasped behind his back, watching. His face is unreadable now. All the amusement has drained away, replaced by something else. Weariness, perhaps, or the beginning of a very different kind of attention. The kind of attention you give to things that don't fit the pattern you expected. The woman doesn't react to any of it, doesn't acknowledge the commentary, doesn't turn her head, just breathes. 4, 4, 4, 4. Her finger stays outside the trigger guard. Range discipline. Perfect. Automatic. She reaches up, makes a minor adjustment to the scope's parallax dial, another adjustment to windage. Her movements are small, precise. The kind of adjustments someone makes when they've done this calculation 10,000 times, when they know exactly how many clicks to compensate for distance, for wind, for the Coriolis effect that most shooters never even consider. Hargrove is 10 feet away now, close enough to see her grip, the way her thumb rests along the receiver, the angle of her cheekbone against the stock. His heart starts beating faster. He knows this posture. He's seen it in exactly 2 places in his entire career, and both of those places are classified above his clearance level. Even after 3 decades of service, even after the things he's done and seen and been ordered to forget. "Whenever you're ready," Blackwell calls out, voice dripping with false courtesy. "We haven't got all day." The woman's breathing changes. 3 cycles. In, hold out. In, hold out. In, hold out. On the 4th cycle, at the bottom of the exhale, when her lungs are at their emptiest and her body is at its stillest, her finger moves to the trigger. The first shot breaks clean. The rifle barks once, sharp report echoing across the desert. Recoil absorbs smoothly into her shoulder. She doesn't flinch, doesn't pull her head off the scope, just works the bolt. Chambers the next round, settles, breathes. Second shot. Same rhythm. Mechanical, inevitable, like a metronome, like a heartbeat. Bolt, chamber, settle, breathe, fire, 3rd shot, 4th shot, 5th shot. Total elapsed time from 1st to 5th, 18 seconds. Hargrove doesn't need to check the target monitor. He already knows. But he looks anyway, pulling the spotting scope to his eye and ranging downfield to the 800-meter mark. The target is a standard silhouette, black on white, concentric scoring rings marking the zones. In the exact center where the highest value zone sits, there are 5 holes, 5 perfect holes clustered so tight they almost overlap. You could cover all 5 with a playing card, maybe with a quarter. Bullseye, every single one. He lowers the scope slowly. His hands are shaking, just slightly, just enough that he has to clench them to make it stop. He's been running this range for 8 years. Before that, he ran ranges in other places. Dusty places, hot places, places where the best shooters in the world came to train. He's seen Olympic competitors, special operations veterans with 20 years of trigger time, Marine Scout snipers with more confirmed kills than most people have birthdays. None of them, not one, has ever shot a group that tight at that distance. Not under pressure. Not with officers watching and mocking and waiting for failure. Not unless they were a part of something very, very different. Mercer has gone quiet. The other officers, too. They're staring at the monitor screen mounted on the tower, showing the automated camera feed of the target. The computer's scoring system is displaying the results in bright green numbers. 5 shots, 5 tens, perfect score, 800 meters. 18 seconds. Blackwell's jaw is tight. He steps closer to the screen, as if proximity will change what he's seeing, as if the numbers will rearrange themselves into something that makes sense. Check the equipment, he says quietly. Make sure the rangefinder is calibrated correctly. Sir, it's calibrated every morning, Hargrove replies. His voice comes out rougher than intended. That's protocol. It's accurate. Check it anyway. One of the junior officers jogs out to the 800-meter line, handheld laser rangefinder in hand. He takes 3 readings from different positions, then radios back. Distance confirmed, sir. 800 meters, plus or minus 0.5. Mercer is staring at the woman now. She's sitting back from the rifle hands, resting loose in her lap. Face still neutral, still calm, like she just did something completely ordinary. Like punching a perfect group at 800 meters is no different than making coffee or tying her boots. He clears his throat. When he speaks, his voice has lost its swagger. Lucky shots. Wind must have been favorable. Or maybe... He trails off, searching for an explanation that preserves his understanding of how the world works. What kind of glass are you running? She doesn't answer. Just looks at him with those stormwater eyes, waiting, patient. I asked you a question, Mercer says. The sharpness is back, but it sounds hollow now. Defensive. Standard issue, Leopold, she says. Same as everyone else. No way. Mercer's shaking his head. No way someone shoots like that with standard gear. There's got to be something. Laser sights, stabilizers, something that gives you an unfair advantage. He looks at Blackwell. Sir, I'd like to inspect her rifle, make sure there are no unauthorized modifications. Blackwell nods once. Do it. Mercer moves toward lane 7, hand outstretched. The woman watches him come, but doesn't move to stop him. He picks up the rifle, turns it over in his hands like he's examining evidence at a crime scene. Checks the scope mounts, the trigger assembly, the barrel. His face grows progressively tighter as he finds nothing. Nothing except a well-maintained, completely standard issue M1110 with a Leopold Mark IV scope. No tricks, no modifications, no hidden technology that explains what just happened. Just a rifle. Just physics, and wind, and mathematics, and a shooter who understands all 3 better than anyone watching has ever seen. He sets it down, harder than necessary. The clatter of metal on wood echoes across the range. Fine, he says. So you can shoot. Doesn't mean anything. One good string doesn't make you a sniper. Could have been luck, wind, anything. Hargrove steps forward before he can stop himself. Lieutenant, that wasn't luck. His voice carries across the range and several heads turn. That was okay, Rangemaster Hargrove, stand down. Blackwell interrupts, voice flat, final. Thank you for your input. Hargrove's mouth closes, but his eyes stay locked on the woman. She meets his gaze for just a moment. Something passes between them. Recognition, maybe, or warning, or acknowledgement of something neither can speak aloud. Not here. Not now. Not with this audience. Then she looks away, turning her attention back to the rifle, begins breaking it down again, with the same mechanical precision she showed before, like the last 5 minutes didn't happen. Like she didn't just do something most trained snipers couldn't replicate on their best day. Blackwell walks slowly to lane 7. Boot heels clicking on concrete. He stops beside the bench, arms crossed, studying her like she's a puzzle he needs to solve before it becomes a problem. Where did you train? Various locations, sir. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I'm authorized to give, sir. Mercer makes a disgusted noise. You're not authorized. You don't have clearance. You're just some nobody who got lucky with a rifle. He leans in closer, voice dropping. Probably had someone teach you. Probably practiced this exact range, this exact setup so you could show off. I've seen it before. People memorizing one trick to impress the brass. The woman doesn't respond, just starts breaking down the rifle. Hands moving through the disassembly sequence without needing to look. Bolt carrier slides out. Trigger assembly separated. Each component placed in its foam-lined case with care. Muscle memory so deep, it's become unconscious. Blackwell's eyes narrow. He watches her hands move. Watches the practiced efficiency. The complete lack of wasted motion. This isn't someone who learned to strip a weapon in basic training and does it twice a year for qualification. This is someone who's done it in the dark, in the rain, under fire, so many times that the sequence has become part of their nervous system. If you're really as good as that one string suggests, he says carefully, you'll have no problem demonstrating it again, under more rigorous conditions. She pauses, bolt carrier halfway out of the upper receiver. What conditions, sir? Official qualification test. Tomorrow morning, 0800. Different range, different distance, time limit, the works. He leans down, voice dropping. If you pass, you get certified. If you fail, you're off my range permanently. Another pause, shorter this time. And if I'm thinking about backing out, he continues, don't bother showing up at all. I don't have time for people who waste my resources. Mercer grins. This is going to be fun. I'll make sure to bring a camera. For the records, of course. The officers drift away, voices rising again in speculation and jokes. What she'll do wrong tomorrow. How far her shots will miss. Whether she'll even show up. The comfortable laughter of men who've already decided the outcome and are just waiting for reality to confirm their expectations. Hargrove stays where he is, 20 feet back, watching. The woman finishes disassembling the rifle, lays each piece in its foam-lined case with care, and closes the lid. She stands, picks up the case, and turns to leave. As she passes Hargrove, she slows, just for a second. Her eyes flick to his face, and in that brief moment, he sees something that makes his blood run cold. Not anger, not fear, just a kind of tired patience, like someone who's been waiting a very long time for something inevitable to happen. Like someone who knows exactly how this story ends because they've read the script before. Range master, she says quietly. Just those two words. Then she's walking away, boots kicking up small clouds of dust. Hargrove watches her go until she's out of sight. Then he pulls out his radio, switches to the encrypted command channel. His hand is shaking again. Control, this is Range Master Hargrove. I need to flag something, off record. The response crackles back. Go ahead, Hargrove. He hesitates, glances around to make sure no one is in earshot. The afternoon sun beats down. The range sits empty now, just targets standing silent in the heat. That shooter who just cleared 800 meters in under 20 seconds, 5 perfect tens. He stops, swallows. I think we need to run her prints. Quietly. Because if she's who I think she is, we have a serious situation on our hands. Copy that. Send me her lane number and timestamp. We'll look into it. Hargrove lowers the radio, stares at the empty lane 7. The sandbags still hold the impression of the rifle. The brass casings lie on the ground, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. 5 perfect shots, 18 seconds, 800 meters. He's been doing this job for 8 years. Before that, he ran ranges in other places. He's seen Olympic shooters, Spec Ops veterans, Marine Scout snipers with 20 years of experience and kill counts that stay classified forever. None of them, not one, has ever shot a group that tight at that distance. Not under pressure. Not with officers watching and mocking and waiting for failure. Not unless they were part of something very specific. Something that officially doesn't exist. Something he helped create 30 years ago in the aftermath of the Gulf War, when new threats required new solutions, and the military started asking questions about what women could do if given the same training as men. He thinks about the way she breathed. 4, 4, 4, 4. He thinks about the grip, the posture, the way her eyes stayed flat and calm when 6 officers were tearing into her, the way she didn't rise to any of it, didn't defend herself, didn't explain, just took it like someone who's been through worse, much worse, like someone who knows that words don't matter when the target is 800 meters downrange. Hargrove picks up one of the spent casings, turns it over in his palm. Standard Lake City brass. Nothing special. Nothing modified. Just a bullet that went exactly where it was supposed to go. Guided by hands that have done this before. Many times before. In places where the difference between success and failure is measured in heartbeats and millimeters. He pockets it, almost without thinking, then heads back toward the control tower. His mind is racing now, connecting dots he doesn't want to connect. Dots that form a picture he really doesn't want to see. Because if she's who he thinks she is, then Major General Preston Blackwell just made the worst mistake of his career. And tomorrow morning, when she shows up for that qualification test, things are going to get very complicated very fast. The sun dips lower, painting the range in shades of copper and shadow. Somewhere in the distance, a door slams. Voices carry on the wind, fading as personnel head back to barracks and offices. The range empties out, leaving only the target standing sentinel in the heat. Lane 7 sits quiet, waiting. Tomorrow morning is going to be interesting. Fort Maddox Administrative Building, 1715 hours. Captain Dylan Mercer sits in the small office he shares with 2 other junior officers. Laptop open. Coffee gone cold beside his elbow. He's been staring at the same screen for 15 minutes, watching the range footage on repeat. The woman, the rifle, 5 shots, 18 seconds, every single one dead center. The timestamp in the corner reads 15:47:22 to 15:47:40. 18 seconds. That don't make sense. He rewinds it again, watches her settle into position, watches the rifle barely move with each shot, watches her work the bolt like she's done it 10,000 times, which he realizes with growing unease she probably has. Nobody shoots like that without serious trigger time, serious training, the kind of training that doesn't show up in a standard enlistment record, the kind of training that happens in places with no names and gets buried in files marked secret and above secret and eventually just disappears into black ink and redacted pages. The door opens. One of his roommates walks in, dropping a gear bag on the floor with a heavy thud. "You still watching that?" The roommate pulls off his boots. "Let it go, man. She got lucky." Lucky? Mercer doesn't look away from the screen. 5 shots, 800 meters, 18 seconds, all 10s. That's not luck, Jensen. Jensen shrugs. So she's good. Big deal. Plenty of good shooters in the military. Not that good. Not at that distance. Not that fast. Mercer finally tears his eyes away from the laptop. "I've been doing this for 8 years. I qualified expert marksman 3 years running. My best time at 800 meters is 32 seconds for 5 shots, and I was happy with that. She did it in 18, and her group was tighter than mine ever was. So she's better than you. Happens. Get over it." But Mercer can't get over it, because there's something else bothering him, something he can't quite identify. The way she moved, the way she breathed, the way she didn't react when Blackwell and the others were riding her, like she'd heard worse, like she'd survived worse, like public humiliation was just background noise compared to wherever she'd been before. He closes the laptop, leans back in his chair. "I'm going to check her gear tomorrow before the test. Make sure everything's regulation." "Dude," Blackwell already said. "I know what Blackwell said, but I want to see it myself. Something's off. She's too good, too calm. It doesn't add up." Jensen gives him a long look. "You know what your problem is? You can't stand that some random woman just rolled up and outshot you in front of the general. That's what this is about. That's not..." Mercer stops himself. Maybe Jensen's right. Maybe he is just bitter. But it doesn't change the facts. Nobody shoots like that without a story, without a history. And whatever her history is, she's keeping it locked down tight. No name tape, no rank, no unit patch, just a uniform and a rifle and skills that don't match the blank slate she's presenting. He stands, grabs his jacket. "I'm going to run her through the system, see what comes up." "You don't even have her name." "I've got her face. I've got the time and date she was on the range. That's enough." Mercer heads for the door, pauses, and if I'm right, if she's hiding something, then tomorrow's test is going to get real interesting. Jensen just shakes his head, pulls out his phone. "Whatever, man. Let me know when you find out she's just a really talented enlisted with a chip on her shoulder. I'll laugh at you then." Mercer leaves without responding. The hallway is empty. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. He takes the stairs 2 at a time, heading down to the ground floor where the admin offices are. Personnel records, security clearances, service histories, everything digitized now, stored in databases that cross-reference with every branch of the military. If she's legit, she'll be in there. And if she's not, well, that's a different problem entirely. He swipes his ID card at the door to the personnel office. After hours, but his clearance gets him in. The room is dark, except for the glow of a single monitor left on standby. He sits down at the nearest terminal, logs in with his credentials. Pulls up the range access logs from today. Scrolls through until he finds lane 7. Timestamp 1545 to 1600. The entry is there, but the name field is blank. Just a notation, walk on, cleared by Rangemaster Hargrove. Mercer frowns. Walk-ons are supposed to show ID, that's protocol. How did she get on the range without logging a name? He switches to the security camera feeds, finds the angle covering the sign-in desk at the range entrance, rewinds to 1530. There. She's walking up to the desk, handing something to the clerk. The clerk looks at it, types something into the computer, then waves her through. The whole interaction takes less than 30 seconds. He zooms in on her hand. She's holding some kind of card, but the resolution isn't good enough to make out details. Could be a standard military ID. Could be something else. The clerk's screen is angled away from the camera, so there's no way to see what was entered into the system. Dead end. Mercer sits back, frustrated. He's missing something. Some piece of information that would explain who she is and why she's here. He thinks about the way Rangemaster Hargrove reacted, the way the old man went quiet after seeing her shoot, the way he called something in on the encrypted channel. Mercer saw him do it, saw the way Hargrove moved away from everyone else before keying his radio, like he didn't want anyone overhearing. Hargrove knows something. Mercer is sure of it. And tomorrow, before that test starts, he's going to find out what. Rangemaster's office, 1745. Hours. Thaddeus Hargrove sits at his desk, hands folded, staring at the phone. It rang 20 minutes ago. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes that changed everything. The voice on the other end had been calm, professional. The kind of voice that doesn't waste words. The kind of voice you hear from people who've spent their careers dealing in secrets. Colonel Hargrove, this is Major Reynolds, G2 Intelligence. We've processed the inquiry you sent up this afternoon. The individual in question is cleared to be on your range. Beyond that, I can't tell you anything else. Do you understand, sir? I need to know. You need to know that she's cleared, that's all. Do not run her prints. Do not flag her access. Do not discuss this conversation with anyone outside of secure channels. Are we clear? Rangemaster? Hargrove had swallowed hard. Yes, sir. Clear. Good. And Hargrove, a pause. If she shoots tomorrow, let her shoot. Don't interfere. That's an order. The line had gone dead before Hargrove could respond. Now he sits in the quiet of his office, trying to process it. G2. Intelligence. They don't get involved in range operations. They don't call down to installations like Fort Maddox unless something significant is happening. Something that crosses into the world of need to know and above your clearance level. She's not just some talented shooter. She's something else. Something protected. Something that makes field-grade intelligence officers call down to tell rangemasters to stand down and shut up. He's been in the military long enough to recognize the signs. The careful non-answers. The orders disguised as suggestions. The implication that asking more questions would be career-limiting at best and catastrophic at worst. Hargrove opens his desk drawer, pulls out the spent casing he pocketed earlier, turns it over in his fingers. Standard brass. But the way she shot it, the precision, the speed, that's not standard. That's something else entirely. He thinks about the tattoo he almost saw when she was reassembling the rifle. Her sleeve rode up just slightly when she reached for the upper receiver. Just enough for him to catch a glimpse of ink on her forearm. Dark lines, geometric. He didn't get a good look, but it was there. And if he's right about who she is, that tattoo is going to tell a very specific story. A story that officially doesn't exist. A story about a program that was created in the aftermath of the Gulf War, when the military started asking different questions about capability and gender, and what happens when you take the best candidates, regardless of what box they check on their personnel forms. Tomorrow morning, when she shows up for the qualification test, things are going to get complicated, because Major General Blackwell doesn't know what he's walking into, and Captain Mercer, with his bruised ego and his need to prove something, is going to push. Push hard. And when you push someone like her, someone with that kind of training, that kind of history, you don't get the reaction you expect. You get something much worse. Hargrove sets the casing down, picks up his phone, scrolls through his contacts, finds a name he hasn't called in 3 years. Master Sergeant Cole, retired, living about 40 minutes away in Tempe. Cole was Gulf War. Spent 20 years in places that don't appear on maps doing things that don't appear in after-action reports. If anyone can confirm what Hargrove suspects, it's him. He hits dial. The phone rings twice before a gravelly voice answers. Hargrove, this is a surprise. Cole, I need to ask you something, off the record.
A pause. Go ahead. If I describe a shooter to you, female, late 20s, no visible rank or unit identification, shoots 5 perfect 10s at 800 meters in under 20 seconds with standard gear, what would you tell me? Another pause. Longer this time. When Cole speaks again, his voice has changed. Gone flat. Careful. I'd tell you to stop asking questions and walk away. That's what I thought. Hargrove listened to me. Cole's voice drops. If you've got someone like that on your range, you do your job and nothing else. You don't dig. You don't speculate.
You definitely don't get in the way. Blackwell's pushing her. Scheduled a qualification test tomorrow. Public. He's going to try to embarrass her. Cole curses quietly. Then Blackwell's an idiot, and you need to be ready for things to go sideways. How sideways? The kind of sideways that ends with people asking questions you can't answer. The kind that gets flagged all the way up to the Pentagon if it goes wrong. Cole pauses. Hargrove, I'm serious. If she's who I think she is, you're not dealing with some enlisted shooter looking to prove a point. You're dealing with someone who's been through the worst this world has to offer and came out the other side. And if Blackwell pushes too hard, Cole stops himself. Just be ready. That's all I'm saying. The line goes dead. Hargrove sets the phone down slowly. His hands are shaking again. He looks at the casing one more time, then drops it back in the drawer and locks it. Tomorrow morning. 0800, Lane 3. Qualification test. Different range. Different conditions. All the pressure Blackwell can bring to bear. And somewhere out there, the woman with no name and stormwater eyes is preparing. Not worried. Not nervous. Just preparing. Because whatever Blackwell thinks is going to happen tomorrow, he's wrong. Dead wrong. Hargrove stands, turns off the desk lamp, heads for the door. As he walks out into the cooling evening air, he says a quiet prayer. Not for the woman. She doesn't need it. For Blackwell. Because tomorrow morning, the general is going to learn a very hard lesson about assumptions. And that lesson is going to come at 1,000 meters delivered in under 20 seconds, with a precision that most people will spend their entire lives trying to understand. Temporary quarters building 12, 200 hours. The room is small. Cinder block walls painted institutional beige. Single bed with military corners. Metal locker. Desk and chair bolted to the floor. Standard temporary billeting for transient personnel. No personal items visible, except for a single duffel bag on the floor beside the bed. Kira Ashford sits at the desk. Laptop open. Screen casting blue-white light across her face. She's not looking at the screen. She's looking at her hands, at the faint scar tissue on her knuckles, barely visible in the dim light, at the calluses on her fingertips from years of trigger time, at the thin white line on her left ring finger where a piece of shrapnel once embedded itself deep enough to require field surgery. Each mark tells a story. Each scar is a chapter in a book most people will never read. Her sleeve is rolled up now. No reason to hide it when she's alone. The tattoo runs from mid-forearm to just below the elbow. Scope reticle. Crosshairs. The number 1047 in clean, precise digits. Below that smaller text, Phantom. And dates, 2016, 2022. The ink is military grade, done by someone who knew what they were doing. It's not decorative. It's documentary. A record. Evidence. She traces the outline with one finger, feeling the slight raised texture where the ink sits under the skin. 1047. Not all of them were bad people. Some were just unlucky. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong side of someone else's war. But they all had one thing in common. They were targets. Designated, confirmed, eliminated. She did her job, every single time. The laptop chimes softly, new email. She glances at the screen. No sender name, just an encrypted address that resolves to a string of alphanumeric characters. She opens it, enters the decryption key from memory, reads, "Situation developing as expected." Blackwell took the bait. Test scheduled for 0800. Mercer is digging. Hargrove knows more than he's saying. Proceed to phase 2. Reveal only when forced. Good luck, Captain. She closes the email, runs a 3-pass wipe on the message, shuts the laptop. Captain, it's been a long time since anyone called her that to her face. 3 years, to be exact. 3 years since the operation in Syria that was supposed to be routine. Since the explosion that wasn't an accident. Since the 9 months in that basement room zip-tied to a chair, answering the same questions over and over, while men with blank faces did things she still dreams about when sleep won't come. They thought they broke her. They were wrong. You can't break someone who's already decided they're dead. You can hurt them. You can make them scream. But you can't take away the core of who they are if they've already let go of everything else. She survived by being empty, by being nothing, by waiting. And then when they finally got careless, when they left her alone for just 15 minutes because they thought she was too damaged to move, she killed 3 of them with a piece of rebar and walked out. Walked 12 miles through hostile territory in the dark, barefoot, bleeding from a dozen places. Made it to a checkpoint manned by Allied forces who almost shot her on sight because she looked like death walking. The extraction team didn't ask questions. They just loaded her onto the helicopter, wrapped her in a shock blanket, and flew her out. The debrief came later. The medical treatment, the psych evals, the decision made somewhere far above her pay grade that Captain Kira Ashford was too compromised to return to active duty, that her identity was burned, that for everyone's safety, including hers, she needed to disappear. So they disappeared her. New name, new records, new life. She became a ghost in truth, not just in call sign. And for 3 years, she lived quietly. Tried to figure out who she was when she wasn't Phantom anymore, when she wasn't stacking bodies in service of national security and classified objectives. But then the intel came through. The same network that killed her father. The same people who tortured her. They were still operating, still embedded in the military infrastructure, still selling information, sabotaging operations, getting good people killed for profit. And one of their next targets was Major General Preston Blackwell. Not because he was dirty, because he was clean, because he was about to testify before a closed congressional hearing about procurement fraud and intelligence leaks, because he knew too much. Because 16 years ago, he and Brigadier General Marcus Ashford had been partners in an investigation that almost exposed the whole network. An investigation that ended when Marcus Ashford died in a car bombing outside his home in Virginia. Kira was 13 years old when it happened. She watched the news footage of the burning wreckage, watched them carry her father out in pieces, watched her mother collapse at the funeral, watched the investigation get quietly shelved as mechanical failure despite all the evidence pointing the other way. She learned early that the system doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it protects the people hurting you, and sometimes, if you want justice, you have to become something the system can't ignore. So she joined the military at 18, enlisted, worked her way through the ranks, proved herself over and over until they noticed, until the Ghost Veil program came calling, until she went to the places where the real war happens, away from cameras and oversight. And every confirmed kill she made, every target she eliminated, she checked against the list of names connected to her father's death. 34 of them scattered across her 1047. 34 people who thought they were safe, who thought they'd gotten away with it. They were wrong. But the network is bigger than 34 people. It's bigger than she realized. And now it's coming for Blackwell, which means it's time to stop hiding. Time to use the one thing they don't know, that she's still alive, that Phantom didn't die in Syria, that she's here watching, waiting for them to make a mistake. And tomorrow morning, when Blackwell tries to humiliate her in front of witnesses, when Mercer tries to catch her in some imagined fraud, when they push and prod and try to make her break, that's when they'll see. That's when the tattoo comes out. That's when the truth stops being hideable. Not because she wants recognition. Recognition is dangerous. But because Blackwell needs to know he's a target. Because Mercer needs to understand he's being used. Because the only way to stop what's coming is to flip the board and force everyone to see what's really happening. She stands, walks to the small window, looks out at the base, lights scattered across the darkness, buildings and vehicles and people going about their lives unaware that something is shifting. That tomorrow, the careful balance of secrets and lies and hidden agendas is going to tilt. Kira rolls her sleeve back down, covering the tattoo, hiding the evidence, for now, for a few more hours. Tomorrow, the mask comes off. Tomorrow, Phantom returns from the dead. Tomorrow, the people who thought they won 16 years ago are going to learn they were wrong. And it all starts with 5 perfect shots at 1,000 meters, in front of everyone. Undeniable. Impossible to ignore. She lies down on the bed, hands behind her head, staring at the ceiling. Sleep won't come easy tonight. It never does before an operation, but that's fine. She's used to operating on no sleep, used to functioning through pain, through fear, through everything the human body is supposed to shut down from. The program trained that out of her years ago. Tomorrow morning, 0800. Major General Blackwell is going to try to break her. He's going to fail. And in the process of failing, he's going to set off a chain reaction he doesn't understand. A chain reaction that ends with the network exposed, the guilty punished, and justice, real justice, finally delivered. 1,047 confirmed kills. 34 of them for her father. The rest for her country, for her unit, for the mission. Tomorrow's not about adding to that count. Tomorrow's about making sure no one else has to die. Making sure Blackwell lives long enough to testify. Making sure the people who killed Marcus Ashford don't get to kill anyone else. She closes her eyes, breathes, 4444. The rhythm that's kept her alive through firefights and interrogations and 3 years of hiding. The rhythm that will carry her through tomorrow, through whatever comes after. Because she's not just a shooter. She's not just a soldier. She's a promise made in blood and kept in silence. A promise that the guilty will answer. That the dead will be avenged. That the system, for all its flaws, can still be forced to do the right thing if you're willing to pay the price. And Kira Ashford has been paying that price for 16 years. Since the day her father died. Since the day she decided that some debts can only be settled one way. With patience. With precision. With the kind of cold, methodical determination that doesn't stop until the target is down and the mission is complete. Tomorrow morning, the mission continues. And Major General Preston Blackwell, whether he knows it or not, is about to become an asset, a protected asset, the kind that lives because someone else decided they were worth fighting for. She hopes he's worth it. She really does. Because if this goes wrong, if the network figures out what she's doing before she can finish, then all of this, all 16 years, all 1047 lives, will have been for nothing. But it won't go wrong. She won't let it. Phantom doesn't miss. Not at 1,000 meters. Not ever. The ceiling fan turns slowly overhead, blades cutting through still air. Outside, footsteps pass in the hallway. Someone laughs. Someone else shouts something inaudible. Normal sounds. Normal life. The kind of life she used to have before she became this. Maybe when this is over, she can have that again. Maybe she can be Kira Ashford daughter and soldier instead of phantom ghost and weapon. Maybe, but first tomorrow. First the test. First the reveal. First the moment when Preston Blackwell looks at her arm and realizes he's not dealing with some random enlisted shooter. He's dealing with the woman his partner told him about 16 years ago. The daughter who wouldn't stop. Who couldn't stop. Not until justice was served. Tomorrow at 0800 hours, in front of everyone, the truth comes out, and nothing will ever be the same. Kira opens her eyes one last time, looks at the locked door, the barred window, the temporary quarters that have been her home for 4 months, while she planned and watched and waited for the right moment. Tomorrow is the right moment. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, the network that killed her father learns that Marcus Ashford's daughter is still fighting, still hunting, still keeping the promise she made at 13 years old, standing in a cemetery, watching them lower her father into the ground. The mission is all that matters. The mission is all she has left. And tomorrow morning, at 0800 hours, Fort Maddox Qualification Range Lane 3, the mission takes its next step. 5 perfect shots, 1,000 meters, under 20 seconds. And one very surprised general, who's about to learn that some people don't stay dead. They just wait in the shadows until the moment is right. Then they step into the light and remind the world what justice looks like when it's delivered with precision. Dawn breaks over Fort Maddox like a judgment. The sky bleeds orange and red colors that soldiers learn to associate with beginnings and endings. The qualification range sits empty at 07:30 minutes before the scheduled test. But not for long. They come in clusters, officers first, then senior enlisted, then anyone with clearance and curiosity. Word spread overnight through the barracks and offices like wildfire through dry brush. The mystery shooter who embarrassed the general, the woman with no name who punched a perfect group at 800 meters. Today she faces the real test. Today most expect she fails. By 07:55, 63 personnel crowd the observation area. More than have gathered for any qualification in the past 5 years. They line the safety barriers cluster near the control tower, position themselves for clear sight lines to lane 3. The atmosphere carries the energy of a sporting event. Bets are placed, predictions made, jokes exchanged about how far her shots will miss, how quickly she'll wash out, how satisfying it will be to watch overconfidence meet reality. Major General Preston Blackwell arrives at exactly 0800. 4 officers flank him, including Captain Dylan Mercer. Blackwell's face is unreadable behind his sunglasses, but his posture speaks volumes. Shoulders back, chin up. The bearing of a man who's already decided the outcome and is simply waiting for the universe to confirm his judgment. Mercer carries a thick clipboard, range regulations, equipment specifications, scoring criteria. He's been preparing since 0500, ensuring every detail gets documented. When she fails, and she will fail, it needs to be recorded from every angle. Preserved for posterity. A lesson about the dangers of arrogance and the importance of knowing your limitations. Colonel Thaddeus Hargrove stands near the control booth. He hasn't slept. Spent the night reviewing protocols, running scenarios, trying to prepare for what he knows is coming, but can't prevent. Major Reynolds' orders were clear. Don't interfere. Let it play out. But every instinct Hargrove has developed over 3 decades of service screams that this morning is going to be one of those moments. The kind that gets discussed in quiet rooms with closed doors and security clearances that most people will never possess. At exactly 0800, she walks through the gate. Kira Ashford moves through the crowd like they're invisible. Same uniform, no insignia. Rifle case in one hand. Her eyes are fixed on lane 3 with singular focus, no hesitation, no acknowledgement of the whispers that follow her passage. Just steady forward motion toward the objective. Mercer steps into her path 20 feet from the firing line. I need to inspect your equipment before you shoot. His voice carries across the range, loud enough for everyone to hear. Regulations. Any shooter using personal weapons must submit to pre-qualification inspection. She stops, looks at him, doesn't speak, just waits with that same calm patience she showed yesterday. The kind of patience that makes some people uncomfortable because it suggests reserves of self-control most humans don't possess. Open the case, Mercer says. She sets it down, flips the latches, steps us back. Mercer kneels examining components with exaggerated thoroughness. Stock, receiver, barrel, scope. He checks serial numbers against his clipboard. Examines scope mounts for any sign of unauthorized enhancement. Measures trigger pull with a gauge he brought specifically for this purpose. The crowd watches in silence. This is part of the show. The ritual of verification before the inevitable failure. Every component passes. Every measurement falls within regulation parameters. Every serial number matches standard issue. Mercer's frustration mounts with each checkmark on his clipboard. Finally, he closes the case with more force than necessary. You're cleared. He stands, brushing dust from his knees. But understand this. You're shooting at 1,000 meters today, not 800. Different wind, different elevation, different everything. He gestures toward the distant targets. 3 attempts, 5 shots each. Minimum score 45 out of 50 to pass. And this time, we've got cameras on every angle. She picks up the case, walks to lane 3, sets up without a word. The crowd presses closer. Someone makes a joke about needing binoculars to see her miss. Nervous laughter follows, the kind that masks uncertainty. The range safety officer, a sergeant with 20 years of experience, and a voice like gravel calls, procedures. Shooter, you have 10 minutes to prepare. 3 attempts, 5 shots per attempt. Minimum score 45 to qualify. Range is hot. You may begin when ready. Kira settles into position. The routine is identical to yesterday. Check the rifle. Make adjustments. Methodical. Unhurried. The rifle settles onto the rest. Her breathing begins. 4, 4, 4, 4. The crowd noise fades, becomes background, irrelevant. Mercer leans toward Blackwell, keeps his voice low but audible to those nearby. Watch. First shot will be off. Classic amateur mistake at this distance. Wind speed increases with range. Temperature gradients affect trajectory. She doesn't have the experience to compensate. The first shot breaks clean. Downrange 1,000 meters away, the target camera displays the impact in real time on multiple monitors positioned around the range. The bullet strikes dead center. 10 ring, perfect. Mercer blinks. Wind assisted, lucky angle. Watch the next one. Second shot. Same methodical rhythm. Target camera shows another center hit. 10 points. The crowd's murmur shifts in tone. Jokes a stop. People lean forward. Third shot. Fourth shot. Fifth shot. Each lands center ring. Perfect group. 50 out of 50 points. First attempt. Total time, 18 seconds. The crowd has gone completely silent. Not the silence of anticipation. The silence of witnessing something that shouldn't be possible. The silence that comes when reality contradicts expectations so completely that the mind needs time to adjust. Mercer stares at the monitor. His face cycles through disbelief, confusion, anger. Check the rangefinder. Something's wrong. Equipment malfunction. Has to be. Hargrove's voice crackles over the radio. Flat. Professional. All systems confirmed accurate. Range is 1,000 meters plus or minus .3. Calibration verified this morning per protocol. 0600 hours. Blackwell steps forward, eyes locked on the display. 5 holes forming a cluster tighter than his fist at a distance where most expert marksmen would be happy with 3 out of 5 on target. His mind races connecting dots. The breathing, the posture, the absolute precision. This isn't just skill. This is something else entirely. Attempt 2, the range safety officer calls. Mercer holds up a hand. Wait. His voice is sharp, desperate. Change conditions. Move her to lane 5. Hargrove's response comes immediately. Lieutenant, that's not protocol. I'm invoking safety officer discretion. Lane 3 has wind shadow from the tower. Lane 5 is fully exposed. If she's as good as she claims, it won't matter. Blackwell nods slowly. Do it. Kira stands without comment. No protest. No objection. Just picks up the rifle and walks to lane 5. Sets up again. Same preparation. Same checklist. The crowd follows murmuring now. This is irregular. This is pressure. This is the moment she breaks. Lane 5 sits fully exposed to the desert wind. Flags downrange snap and flutter, showing gusts to 12 miles per hour. Variable. Unpredictable. The kind of conditions that require constant adjustment and years of experience to navigate successfully. 5 shots. Same rhythm. Same precision. 5 more center hits. Another perfect 50. 100 out of 100 total. The crowd has stopped pretending this is normal. Phones come out, recording. This is becoming a story. The kind people will tell. The kind that gets passed around until it becomes legend. Officers pull out their own devices documenting. Some faces show awe. Others show something closer to fear. Because precision like this doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from training that most of them have only heard rumors about. Mercer drops his clipboard. The clatter echoes across the suddenly quiet range. Third attempt. I want... No. Blackwell's voice cuts through. Quiet, but absolute. No more attempts. She's qualified. More than qualified. He steps closer to lane 5, removes his sunglasses, studies Kira with the kind of attention you give to problems that need solving before they become crises. Who trained you? She doesn't look up from the rifle. Begins breaking it down with practiced efficiency. Various instructors, sir. That's not an answer. It's the answer you're cleared to receive, sir. Blackwell's jaw tightens. I want your identification, your full service record, right now. She finally looks at him, storm water eyes meeting his without flinching. I don't think you do, sir. Not here, not in front of everyone. That wasn't a request. Mercer moves closer. His frustration has reached critical mass. 6 weeks of pressure building. 6 weeks of threats and impossible choices compressing into this moment. This woman is making him look incompetent in front of the entire base command structure, making him look weak, making him look like a fool. But there's more to it than bruised ego. Something deeper, something desperate. Because 6 weeks ago, his world changed. 6 weeks ago, the encrypted messages started arriving. Photographs, threats, instructions. And Mercer, who always thought he was strong enough to handle anything discovered there, are some pressures that break even the strongest men. Show us your ID, he says, voice rising. Show us your orders. Show us anything proving you're supposed to be here, because I'm starting to think you're running some kind of scam. He reaches for her arm, intending to pull her to her feet, to force compliance, to reassert some measure of control over a situation that's been spiraling away from him for 6 weeks, to do something, anything that makes him feel like he's not completely powerless. His fingers close around her left forearm, gripping tight. When he pulls her sleeve rides up, the tattoo becomes visible, clear, undeniable, impossible to misunderstand, scope reticle, crosshairs precise and stark against her skin. The number 974 in military stencil font, each digit crisp, permanent, a record carved in ink and flesh. Below that, the word phantom in letters that look like they were etched rather than inked. Dates underneath 2016 to 2022. And at the bottom, an insignia that makes Hargrove's breath catch in his throat. The Ghost Veil program symbol, a design he helped create 30 years ago. A design that officially doesn't exist. A design that no one below a certain clearance level should even recognize. Mercer freezes, hand still on her arm, but no longer pulling. Just holding, just staring. His mouth opens. Nothing comes out. His brain is trying to process information it doesn't have context for. A number that seems impossible. A program name he's never heard. Dates that span 6 years. What does 974 mean, missions operations? Something else. The crowd erupts in whispers. Those close enough to see point, someone gasps. The noise level rises as people try to explain to those farther back what they're seeing. Numbers get repeated. Phantom, 974. The speculation begins immediately. What program? What do the numbers mean? How is this possible? Hargrove has gone white, knuckles pale where he grips the console. He knew, suspected, but seeing confirmation is different. Seeing the tattoo, the program insignia he helped design 30 years ago on the arm of Marcus Ashford's daughter. The pieces slam together in his mind. The timeline, the training, the precision, everything suddenly makes terrible perfect sense. He keys the radio, voice steady through sheer force of will. All personnel stand down. I repeat, stand down. Kira pulls her arm away. Mercer lets go, like he's been burned. She rolls the sleeve back down, but the damage is done. Everyone saw. The tattoo is burned into their memory. The questions have been asked, even if the answers aren't available. Blackwell stares at the arm where the tattoo was visible. His face cycles through confusion, disbelief, recognition. His lips form a word that doesn't come out at first, then louder, as memory crashes into present reality like a freight train hitting a wall. Ghost. The whisper spreads. Ghost. The call sign. The legend. Stories told in quiet moments between veterans who've earned the right to know. Operations that officially never happened.
Targets eliminated with such precision that enemy forces attributed it to divine intervention, because surely no human shooter could make those shots. Blackwell's voice rises. Your ghost. Phantom. The silence is absolute. 63 people frozen. The name carries weight. Even those who don't know the details know that name means something. Something significant. Something that makes generals stop mid-sentence and reevaluate everything they thought they knew. An older man pushes through the crowd. Master Sergeant Cole, retired, drove from Tempe at Hargrove's request. He stops 10 feet away, looks at the tattoo still partially visible where Kira's sleeve hasn't quite covered it, and his face transforms.
Recognition, respect, awe. Death Angel, he says quietly, but in the silence it carries. Operation Silent Dawn, Afghanistan 2020. You pulled Blackwell's team from that valley. 30 hostiles down in 6 minutes. Longest confirmed kill, 1,200 meters. He pauses, swallows. They said you died in Syria. Al-Hasaka province, 2022. The whispers become a roar. People talking over each other, questions flying. Someone mentions Syria. Someone else mentions Afghanistan. The stories start spreading, fragmenting, multiplying. Legend meeting reality, and neither quite matching up. Kira stands slowly, faces Blackwell. When she speaks, her voice is quiet, but carries absolute authority. The voice of someone who's made life and death decisions in the span of a heartbeat and learned to live with the consequences. Captain Kira Ashford, Ghost Veil Sniper Operations, 2016 through 2022. 974 confirmed eliminations. She pauses, lets that sink in. The number. The impossibility of it. The weight of it. And you, General Blackwell, are in immediate danger. The number hangs in the air. 974. Some in the crowd do the math. 6 years of operations. That's an average of 162 per year. More than 3 per week, every week. For 6 years. Without rest. Without failure. Without missing. It's not possible. Except it is. Because she's standing here. Because the tattoo is real. Because everything they've witnessed in the past 2 days confirms it. Blackwell steps back. What are you talking about? The same network that killed my father, Brigadier General Marcus Ashford, in 2008 is targeting you. They know you're scheduled to testify before Congress next month. They know you have evidence. They're planning to eliminate you before that happens. The crowd has gone silent again. This is no longer a qualification test. This is something else entirely, something bigger, darker, more complex than anyone expected when they woke up this morning. Kira turns to Mercer. Her eyes soften slightly. Not with pity, with understanding. With the recognition of someone who knows what it means to be caught between impossible choices. She's been watching him for 3 months. Surveillance wasn't just about the network. It was about everyone in Blackwell's orbit. Everyone who could be compromised. Everyone who could become a threat. When Mercer's behavior changed 6 weeks ago, she noticed. The way he started arriving early, staying late. The way his hands shook when he thought no one was looking. The way he checked his phone constantly, face draining of color with each message. She tracked the encrypted communications, identified the pattern, understood the leverage being applied. His family, always the family. The network knew that's where men like Mercer were most vulnerable. Not through greed or ambition, but through love. Through the primal need to protect the people who depend on you. Lieutenant Mercer, she says quietly, how long has your family been receiving threats? Mercer's face drains of color. His entire body goes rigid. What? When did photographs start arriving? Ones showing your wife Jennifer leaving work. Your sons, Ethan and Noah, at school. Walking home. Playing in the yard. Going about their lives while someone watches from a distance with a camera and dark intentions. The clipboard falls from Mercer's hand, hits concrete. No one moves to pick it up. Mercer is shaking now, visibly trembling. How do you know those names? How do you know about? Because I've been watching the network for 3 months. Surveillance included everyone close to General Blackwell. When your behavior changed 6 weeks ago, I knew something was wrong. I tracked the encrypted messages. Identified the pattern. The leverage, her voice gentles. The same people threatening them sent me to die in Syria. They've been using you, Lieutenant, putting pressure on you to sabotage anyone getting close to Blackwell. They have your family right now, and they're using you to ensure Blackwell dies before he testifies. Mercer backs away, shaking his head. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand what they'll do. What they've shown me, they'll do. Storage Facility 7. South Perimeter. 2 guards outside, 3 inside with the hostages. You've been getting encrypted messages for 6 weeks. First small things, reports that went missing, schedules that got confused. Then escalation. Instructions to interfere with anyone showing unusual interest in Blackwell. Her voice doesn't change, just states facts. Yesterday when I showed up, they told you to make sure I failed publicly, to humiliate me, to discredit me, so that if I tried to warn Blackwell, no one would believe me. Mercer's legs give out. He drops to his knees, face collapsing. 6 weeks of terror. 6 weeks of impossible choices. 6 weeks of being crushed between protecting his family and betraying his oath. Waking up every morning wondering if this is the day he fails. The day the network decides Jennifer and the boys are more useful as examples than as leverage. The day everything he's been trying to prevent happens anyway because he wasn't strong enough or smart enough or lucky enough. I didn't have a choice. His voice breaks, raw, desperate. They said they'd kill them. They showed me proof. Videos of them tied up. Showed me Jennifer crying. Showed me Ethan and Noah asking for their father. Showed me what they'd do if I didn't cooperate. Showed me in detail. In horrible specific detail. He's crying now, not caring that 60 witnesses are watching. I had to. What else could I do? I know, Kira says quietly. She kneels down beside him, eye level. That's why I'm here, to get them back, to end this, to give you a choice you haven't had in 6 weeks. Be so tough. Blackwell processes everything. The woman he thought was dead, the network he thought was dismantled after Marcus has died. The threat he didn't know existed, all of it converging on this moment, on this range, under the morning sun, with 60 witnesses watching history unfold in real time. If this is true, he says carefully, why hide? Why not come directly to me? Because I needed to know who the traitor was. I needed the network confident enough to move openly, to make mistakes, to expose themselves. She looks steadily at him. And I needed you to see me shoot before I told you what was coming. Yesterday you saw someone you thought was nobody. Today you know I'm Ghost, the woman who saved your life 5 years ago, the woman who doesn't miss. And now I'm asking you to trust me one more time. She pauses, voice dropping, becoming personal, letting the crowd hear, but speaking directly to Blackwell. 16 years ago, my father and you were investigating procurement fraud together. Partners. You trusted each other, relied on each other. He found evidence of a corruption network embedded in military procurement and intelligence. The night before, he was going to brief the Secretary of Defense. Someone planted a bomb under his car. Her voice stays steady, but something raw enters it. Something that's been buried for years, but never forgotten, never healed. I was 13 years old. I watched the news footage, watched the burning wreckage, watched them load what was left of him into a body bag, watched my mother collapse at the funeral, watched her try to be strong for me when she was dying inside, watched the investigation get quietly shelved as mechanical failure despite all the evidence pointing the other way. Blackwell's face has gone ashen. Marcus Ashford was my friend, my partner, my brother in every way that mattered. When he died, He stops, swallows. I knew it wasn't mechanical failure, but I had no proof, and I was scared. I had Elizabeth. I had 3 kids, so I stayed quiet. Told myself there was nothing I could do. Told myself that speaking up would just get more people killed. Told myself a lot of things that let me sleep at night. I know, Kira says quietly. I know you were afraid. I know you made a choice to protect your family. I don't judge you for that. My father wouldn't have judged you for that, but the network is coming for you now. And this time, I have the skill, the training, and the evidence to stop them. But I need you alive to testify. I need Lieutenant Mercer to choose redemption over fear. And I need 42 minutes to pull off a hostage rescue that saves 3 innocent people and breaks this network open. She stands, picks up her rifle case, looks at Mercer, still kneeling on the concrete. Are you coming, Lieutenant? Or are we letting Jennifer, Ethan, and Noah die because you're too broken to try? Mercer looks up, eyes red, face wet with tears. But something else is there too. Something that wasn't there before. Hope. Desperate, fragile hope. If you're lying, then your family dies, and Blackwell dies, and the network wins. But I'm not lying, Lieutenant. I'm giving you one chance to fix this. To be on the right side when it matters. To save your family and help me finish what my father started. She extends her hand. But I need you functional. I need you focused. Can you do that? Mercer stares at her hand, at the choice she's offering, at the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this nightmare ends with his family alive. He takes her hand, lets her pull him to his feet. Jan, he says, voice steadier. Yes, I can do that. Blackwell steps forward. Captain Ashford, you have my authorization to conduct a hostage rescue on United States soil within base perimeter. Do whatever you need to do. Bring them home. I need Lieutenant Mercer with me. He knows details about the facility, about the routine, about anything that might have changed in the past 6 weeks. Done. What else? You stay here, surrounded by witnesses. The network won't move on you while there's a crowd. They need it to look like an accident, a training mishap, a vehicle malfunction, something that doesn't raise questions. But if you're in public view with 60 witnesses, they can't touch you. She pauses. And I need Rangemaster Hargrove to pull security footage from 3 months ago. Any vehicles entering the industrial area between 0200 and 0400 hours. The person running this network is on this base. High rank, trusted, operating in plain sight. I have suspicions, but we need proof. Hargrove is already moving. On it. I'll have everything compiled within the hour. Blackwell looks at Kira, really looks, seeing past the uniform to the person underneath. The woman who saved his life 5 years ago, who spent 9 months in hell, who's been hunting her father's killers for 16 years with the kind of determination that most people can't imagine sustaining for 16 days. Why didn't you just tell me when you arrived? Because I needed you to understand who I am before I asked you to trust me. She meets his eyes. Yesterday, you saw a nobody, someone without rank or credentials, someone you could dismiss. Today you know I'm Ghost. You know what that tattoo means. You know I'm the woman who saved your life in Afghanistan, the woman who doesn't miss. And now I'm asking you to trust me one more time, to believe that I can do this, that I can bring Mercer's family home and expose the people who killed my father and are planning to kill you. Blackwell extends his hand. She shakes it. His grip is firm, the grip of one warrior acknowledging another. Bring them home, Captain, and then we finish this, together. The crowd parts as Kira and Mercer move through. Hargrove falls in behind them. Cole and 3 other veterans who recognize what's happening follow, without being asked. By the time they reach the parking area, it's a 6-person element. 6 people who've decided that some things are worth fighting for. Some people are worth saving. Some networks need to be broken no matter the cost. They load into 2 vehicles. Kira drives the lead, Mercer beside her, hands shaking but jaw set with new determination. As they pull out heading south toward the industrial district, the sun breaks fully over the eastern horizon. Golden light floods the desert, illuminates the road ahead. 41 minutes until the hostages are moved. Behind them, at the range, Blackwell stands, surrounded by 62 witnesses. Safe for now, protected by visibility. The network can't move while this many people are watching. Can't make his death look accidental when he's in public view with cameras recording and memories being formed. But in 41 minutes, if Kira fails, if the hostages are moved, if the network realizes their plan is compromised, everything changes. The timeline accelerates, the endgame begins. And Preston Blackwell's testimony, the evidence that could expose 16 years of corruption and murder, dies with him. The vehicles disappear into the distance, dust rising from their passage. The crowd at the range begins to disperse. Slowly, reluctantly, people wanting to stay, wanting to see what happens next. But duty calls. Jobs wait. Life continues even as something extraordinary unfolds in the shadows. Hargrove watches until the vehicles are out of sight, then turns back to his terminal. Opens archived footage. 3 months of overnight surveillance. Looking for patterns, for vehicles, for the face he's starting to suspect he'll find. The face of someone trusted, someone with access, someone who's been hiding in plain sight for years, protected by rank and reputation, and the assumption that people at a certain level don't commit treason, don't betray everything they've sworn to protect, don't murder their own people for money and power, and the twisted logic that says the ends justify the means. His fingers move across the keyboard, searching, cross-referencing, building a case from digital breadcrumbs and timestamps and license plates captured by cameras that most people forget exist. Because when Kira comes back, if she comes back, she'll need more than testimony. She'll need proof. Evidence that can't be dismissed or buried or explained away. Evidence that stands up in courts, martial and congressional hearings, and the court of public opinion. And Thaddeus Hargrove, who helped create the Ghost Veil program 30 years ago, who trained the first generation of operators in tactics that officially don't exist, is going to make damn sure she has everything she needs. The screen flickers. Footage from 91 days ago. 0247 hours. A sedan entering the industrial area through the south gate. The angle isn't perfect, but it's good enough. The security light catches the driver's face for just 3 frames as they slow for the speed bump. Hargrove's breath catches in his throat. He knows that face. Everyone on this base knows that face. Sees it at command briefings and formal ceremonies, and in the chain of command structure that governs their professional lives. A face associated with authority and experience and 32 years of distinguished service. Brigadier General Garrett Holbrook, base commander, Gulf War veteran, 2 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star, Purple Heart, trusted, respected, positioned perfectly to control information flow, to influence investigations, to ensure that certain questions never get asked and certain evidence never gets found. To protect the network that's been operating for 16 years right under everyone's noses. Hargrove saves the footage to 3 separate encrypted drives, then sends a coded message to a secure number, the same number that's been dead for 3 years. The number that officially belongs to no one, because the person it belonged to is officially deceased. But Kira Ashford isn't dead. Phantom isn't finished. And in 39 minutes, when she kicks down the door of Storage Facility 7, when she faces down the men who thought they could use fear and violence to control the narrative, Garrett Holbrook is going to learn something important. You can kill a soldier. You can torture an operator. You can even bury their identity and declare them dead. But you can't kill a promise. You can't torture away determination. And you definitely can't bury justice when it's been kept alive by 16 years of patience and 974 perfect shots. The desert sun climbs higher. The temperature rises. And somewhere in the industrial district, Jennifer Mercer and 2 8-year-old boys wait in darkness, unaware that rescue is 38 minutes away. Unaware that the woman with stormwater eyes and hands that never miss is coming for them. Unaware that today, finally after 16 years of waiting, Marcus Ashford's daughter is about to prove that some debts don't expire. They just compound. With interest. With precision. With the kind of calculated patience that turns vengeance into justice and promises into action. Mercer sits beside Kira in the vehicle, hands still shaking, but gripping his weapon now, checking the magazine, chambering around, going through the motions that training drilled into him years ago. Motions that become automatic when thinking is too hard and feeling is too overwhelming. How did you know? He asks quietly. About my family, about where they are. I've been surveilling the network for 3 months. 26 previous operations taught me their patterns, how they recruit, how they leverage, how they move. She navigates through the base perimeter roads with practiced ease. When I identified you as someone close to Blackwell, I started watching. When your behavior changed, I knew they'd gotten to you. The rest was just surveillance and signal analysis. 26 previous operations. Members of the network connected to my father's death. Over 6 years, I identified them, tracked them, eliminated them. Each one brought me closer to understanding how the system worked, who reported to whom, how money flowed, how orders were transmitted. Her voice is clinical, professional, but I needed the head, the person running everything. That's Holbrook. And I needed him to move on Blackwell so I could prove pattern, prove intent. Connect 16 years of crimes into one prosecutable conspiracy. Mercer processes this. 26 people dead, all connected to a network that killed a general and has operated for 16 years, all eliminated by the woman sitting next to him with the same calm focus she showed punching perfect groups at 1,000 meters. You're not just a sniper, he says. No, I'm justice. The kind that operates in the spaces where the system can't reach, where oversight becomes a liability and rules become obstacles. But I'm also exhausted, Lieutenant. I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm ready to stop, ready to let someone else carry the weight. But first, I need to finish it. Need to break the network completely. Need to ensure no one else's father gets blown up for trying to do the right thing. They drive in silence for a moment. Then Mercer speaks again, quieter. Thank you for not giving up on me, for understanding. I know what it's like to have impossible choices, Lieutenant. I know what it's like to compromise your values to survive, to protect someone you love. I don't judge you for it. I just need you functional for the next hour. Can you do that? Yes, Mercer says. And this time, he believes it. The industrial district approaches. Old buildings, forgotten facilities, the kind of infrastructure that gets built during periods of expansion and then ignored during periods of budget cuts. Storage facility. 7 sits among them. Concrete and steel. Built to last, built to withstand threats from outside, but not built to withstand Kira Ashford coming from inside. With determination honed over 16 years, with skills earned through 974 previous operations, with the absolute certainty that today finally justice catches up. 36 minutes remaining. The countdown continues, and the network that thought it was untouchable is about to learn what happens when you underestimate a ghost who's been hunting you for 16 years. When you kill someone's father and think that's the end of the story. When you torture someone for 9 months and declare them dead and think you've won. When you threaten an innocent family and think fear is enough to control the outcome. You're wrong, completely catastrophically wrong, because Kira Ashford doesn't quit, doesn't forgive, doesn't forget. She just waits, prepares. And when the moment comes when all the pieces align and the shot presents itself, she takes it and she doesn't miss. Not at 1,000 meters, not at close range, not in the space between breath and trigger pull, where the difference between life and death is measured in millimeters and milliseconds. The vehicle's slow. The facility appears. And the final act of the 16-year mission begins. Justice Storage Facility. 7 sits isolated like a Cold War relic. Concrete bunker. Chain link fence. Razor wire. 2 guards outside, smoking weapons slung casual. 16 years of complacency, making them careless. Kira parks 3 blocks away. 6 people breathe in synchronized rhythm. Hargrove Cole. 3 Gulf War veterans, and Mercer hands steadier now, but eyes still haunted. Mercer, you stay with the vehicles, engine running. When we come out with your family, you drive. I should go in. You're compromised emotionally. Trust me to do my job. She checks her watch. 38 minutes remaining. They approach from 2 angles. 2 suppressed shots. Tranquilizer rounds. Both guards drop silent. Kira picks the lock in 30 seconds. The door opens without sound. Inside, 3 men play cards. Behind them, Jennifer Mercer and 2 8-year-old boys sit bound but unharmed. Kira's element moves like water. 15 seconds. All 3 men flex cuffed on the ground. No shots fired. Cole cuts the hostages free. Mrs. Mercer, your husband sent us. You're safe. But Kira doesn't move toward the exit. She's staring at a steel door at the back. Kira hostages are secure. We need to move. Hargrove's voice. Not yet. He's here. She opens the door. Behind a desk sits Brigadier General Garrett Holbrook, 58, 32 years of service, calm as a man reviewing reports. Captain Ashford, I wondered when you'd figure it out. Stand up. Hands where I can see them. Holbrook stands slowly, too compliant. I've been waiting 16 years, ever since your father's car became a fireball. The hostage situation was bait. For you. Everything you've done I orchestrated. On your knees. Your father was naive. Thought honor mattered more than survival. His voice hardens. The system protects people like me. People who understand that ideals are luxuries. You murdered a brigadier general. Sold out your country.
Dem Schaber.
I ensured survival when Congress cut budgets and politicians played games. Someone had to make the hard choices. Hargrove appears in the doorway. Garrett, it's over. We have evidence. Surveillance footage, financial records, testimony. Holbrook's hand moves, fast, reaching behind the desk for a hidden weapon. Time compresses. Kira's rifle shifts. Minute adjustment. Her shot breaks clean, not hitting Holbrook, but the pistol. Tears it from his grip, at the exact angle to avoid his hand. The weapon clatters across the floor. Holbrook staggers, staring at his empty hand. She could have killed him, should have. He was armed, justified. But she chose differently. Kira closes the distance, strikes him with the rifle butt. Controlled, he drops. She puts her boot on his chest. I'm not like you. I don't kill unarmed men. You'll face justice in a courtroom. Holbrook's laugh is wet. You think a court will convict a general? Kira leans down. Not with just testimony, but with security footage from 2007 showing you meeting the contractors who built the bomb. Financial records showing $2 million moving through Cayman accounts. Encrypted emails backed up on servers you didn't know existed. She pauses. My father left everything for me. I've been building this case 16 years, waiting for you to make one more mistake. Holbrook's face drains. You're bluffing. The alternative is being forgotten. Testify. Give up every name, every account. Become the whistleblower who brought it down, or refuse. Be just another corrupt officer buried at Leavenworth, forgotten in a year, dead in 5, no legacy. For the first time, real fear crosses his face. Fear of irrelevance. How many officers? 12. 4 senators, 2 contractors, all ready to turn on you for immunity. But if you talk first, you control the narrative. Holbrook closes his eyes. Calculates. All right, I'll testify. Everything. Hargrove cuffs him. Outside, sirens approach. Military police. JAG officers. Medical personnel. Jennifer Mercer holds her sons wrapped in shock blankets. The 3 hired men sit cuffed and silent. Kira walks Holbrook into morning sunlight. Vehicles screech to stops. Everything freezes when they see the base commander in flex cuffs. Blackwell stands watching his colleague being perp-walked. Betrayal written across his face. Mercer sees his family. The sound he makes isn't human. He runs, drops to his knees, pulls them close, shaking. I'm sorry. I should have. Jennifer's hand covers his mouth. You found help. You saved us. Ethan looks up. Dad, are you a hero? Kira kneels to their level. Your father protected you the only way he could. That takes courage. The kind that doesn't get medals, but matters just as much. Noah speaks up. Are the bad men gone? Yes, you're safe now. Blackwell approaches Kira, comes to attention, salutes. Captain Ashford, on behalf of the United States military, on behalf of every person you've protected, on behalf of your father, who would be proud beyond measure. Thank you. She returns the salute. Just doing my job, sir. No. You carried a burden no one should carry. You sacrificed everything to finish what Marcus and I started. His voice breaks. And I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to keep going when he died. You're testifying now. That takes courage. What happens now? The evidence goes to Congress. Holbrook's network unravels. Investigations start within hours. My father's death finally means something. And you, I testify. Then I disappear. Ghost was always temporary. You've earned recognition. I don't want recognition. I want my father's killers in prison. Mission accomplished. Blackwell stops her.
Your father told me something the night before he died. He said, if anything happens, tell Kira she doesn't have to be a soldier.
She can just be my daughter. That's enough. I love her exactly as she is. Kira's eyes close. When they open, they're wet. Thank you for that, sir. Will you stay? The military needs people like you. 974 confirmed eliminations over 6 years. I've done my share. Time to let someone else carry the rifle. They shake hands. Warrior acknowledging warrior. 3 months later. Holbrook receives 35 years at Leavenworth. 4 colonels get 20 to 30 years. 12 officers face court-martial. The network is shattered. Reforms sweep through military procurement. Mercer returns to duty, cleared of all charges. He starts a mentoring program for officers facing ethical dilemmas, teaching that recognizing mistakes and seeking to make them right defines character. Blackwell testifies for 6 hours, retires with honors, establishes the Brigadier General Marcus Ashford Foundation for military families. At the dedication, he tells the story of a man who believed in honor and how that man's daughter proved believing in something bigger than yourself is never naive. Kira retires as major, declines the Medal of Honor. Give it to someone still fighting. She buys a small house in New Mexico, quiet, isolated, space to breathe. 3 days after moving in, an envelope arrives. Unmarked, inside a photograph, military base, circled figure. A note Tower 4 sends regards. One name remains, when you're ready. She places it in a drawer, not forgotten, deferred. The rifle case sits in her closet, ready. But for now, she's just Kira. She makes coffee, steps onto her porch, watches sunrise over the desert, colors that remind her of beginnings and endings. Hargrove arrives. They have a meeting with the VA, discussing a program for transitioning special operations personnel, teaching them how to be human again after being weapons. The meeting goes well. Funding approved. Program launches in 3 months. Afterward, coffee. Comfortable silence. You think you'll take that final shot? Hargrove asks. I don't know. Maybe. If justice demands it. She pauses. But not yet. Right now, I'm learning how to be something other than Ghost. My father's daughter. Just that. He'd be proud. Not for the 974. For this. For choosing to stop. For choosing to teach instead of kill. 26 of those were for him, members of the network. I thought each one would make me feel better. She shakes her head, but it never did. The only thing that's felt meaningful was today, helping people, building something. Hargrove nods. Your father and I served together 8 years. He told me about you, how proud, how scared. He said, she's going to follow me into service, and I'm terrified because I know what it costs. He tried to talk me out of enlisting. He knew you wouldn't listen. But he also knew service doesn't always mean carrying a rifle. Sometimes it means teaching. Mentoring. That's service too. Maybe the most important kind. They finish their coffee, drive back. Hargrove doesn't leave immediately. The photograph. You know you don't have to take that shot, right? You've done enough. I know, but if I don't, someone else will. Someone who might not be as precise. If Tower 4 needs that shot taken, I'd rather it be me than someone who might miss. Just promise you'll think about it. I promise. That evening, Kira writes a letter. Dear Dad, I finished what you started. The men who killed you are in prison. The network is broken. General Blackwell is safe. But not because the system fixed itself. Because someone had to force it. You told Blackwell I didn't have to be a soldier, that I could just be your daughter. But I had to be both. I had to be the soldier you trained me to be, and the daughter who loved you enough to make your death mean something. I'm done being a soldier now. Colonel Hargrove and I are starting a program, helping veterans transition, using what we learned to help others find the light. I think you'd be proud, not of the 974, but of this, of choosing to build instead of destroy, of honoring your memory by living your values rather than adding to the count. Mission complete, Dad. You can rest now. We both can. Love, Kira. Tomorrow she'll drive to Arlington, to her father's grave, place the letter there with her rank insignia and a bullet casing from Fort Maddox. The shot that started everything. And then maybe she'll finally let go. She thinks about the photograph. One name remains. But not today. Not this month. Maybe not ever. Because she's earned the right to choose. The rifle case will wait. Tower 4 will wait. Because Kira Ashford has finally learned what took 16 years and 974 eliminations to understand. Justice isn't measured in confirmed kills. It's measured in lives saved, systems reformed, good people protected, veterans helped, the next generation taught to value honor over survival. Her father understood that. Now she does too. The stars emerge, a coyote howls, life continues. And Kira Ashford, formerly captain, formerly phantom, formerly the most precise instrument of justice the military has ever created, closes her eyes and breathes. 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out, 4 counts empty. The rhythm that kept her alive, the rhythm that defined her, the rhythm that finally can slow down, can stop, can let her be human again. Tomorrow, Arlington, to her father's grave, to say the words she's held for 16 years. Mission complete, Dad. You can rest now. We both can. And for the first time since she was 13 years old, Kira Ashford believes it.